Hey fam, CREATIOZZ this side. So how's your day going on? Well, I'll make it interesting. So today, we are going to talk about what happened when an ancient human got lost alone. Imagine you're walking home. It's dark, your phone battery's at 1%, and the GPS suddenly glitches. You look around, and for a split second, you don't recognize the street names. Your stomach drops, a little spike of adrenaline hits your chest. You feel a sudden wave of panic. Then you see a glowing street lamp. You step into a gas station. You call an Uber. Within 20 minutes, you're safe inside your house, pouring a glass of water, laughing off how easily you got turned around. For you, getting lost is a brief detour. It's an annoying story to tell your friends. But for a human being, 40,000 years ago, that exact same feeling, that sudden, chilling realization that you don't know where you are, wasn't a detour. It was a death sentence. And how you responded in the next 10 minutes would determine whether your lineage survived or whether your bones vanished forever into the dirt. Today, if you get lost, the advice is always the same. Stay exactly where you are and wait for help. But 40,000 years ago, if you stayed still, the environment would systematically dismantle you in 3 distinct phases. No, actually not that phases. Let me explain. The first phase is exposure. Without a tribe to help build a brush shelter or take turns maintaining a fire, a lone human in the open air is entirely defenseless against a sudden drop in temperature. If night fell and the climate dropped below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, mild hypothermia would set in within hours. Your muscles would start violently shaking to generate heat, burning through your body's remaining glucose. Once that happened, your coordination failed. On rocky, uneven terrain, a single twisted ankle meant you couldn't travel. And out here, an inability to move meant you became food. Which brings us to the second phase, predators. A lone human doesn't have claws, sharp teeth, or thick armor. Our entire evolutionary strategy relies on the strength of the pack. Predators like the cave hyena or the saber-toothed cat were highly attuned to isolation. Anthropologists tracking ancient apex predators have noted that they rarely attacked human groups. But a lone, wandering individual carrying the distinct scent of fear and sweat was an incredibly easy target. And the third phase, the one that truly breaks a person, is psychological. Human beings are hardwired for connection. When you are completely isolated in a hostile landscape, your brain actively betrays you. The hypervigilance required to scan for predators floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate skyrockets. You stop thinking logically and start reacting purely on primal panic. You begin running blindly, pushing yourself deeper into unknown territory, expending precious energy until you collapse from exhaustion. So, if you're a Paleolithic hunter separated from your group during a chaotic bison hunt and the horizon looks completely unfamiliar, what do? You don't panic. You rely on an incredible biological toolkit built specifically for this crisis: spatial mapping and environmental tracking. Long before we invented maps or compasses, early humans possessed a near superhuman capacity for mental navigation. Indigenous tracking cultures, studied by anthropologists, show an ability to read a landscape like a book. An ancient human wouldn't just look at a mountain, they would notice the subtle lean of the trees, which indicates the direction of the prevailing winds. They would look at the moss growth on rocks, which identifies where the damp, shaded north lies. If they crossed a dry riverbed, they wouldn't just walk past it. They knew that water flows downward, eventually leading to major rivers where human settlements were universally established. But what if darkness falls before you find your way? What if you are forced to spend the night alone in the deep dark? Your priority instantly flips, from moving to securing an absolute biological boundary. You find a rock overhang or a shallow cave, but you don't just walk inside blindly. Caves are highly contested real estate. You check the entrance for fresh tracks or animal droppings. Next, you need fire, and this is where our ancestors demonstrated mind-blowing material intelligence. We know from archaeological discoveries, like the 5,300-year-old Iceman named Ötzi, found frozen in the Alps, that prehistoric travelers carried dedicated survival kits. Ötzi carried a leather pouch containing tinder fungus, a specific woody mushroom that can hold a smoldering spark internally for hours without dying out, along with flint and chunks of iron pyrite. If you were lost, you scraped together dry grass, struck the flint against the pyrite to throw a spark into the fungus, and gently blew it into a flame. That fire did something miraculous. It didn't just keep you warm, and it didn't just keep predators at bay with the smell of smoke. It stabilized your psychology. The flickering light literally pushed back the terrors of the dark, lowering your cortisol levels and allowing your logical brain to turn back on. Sitting by that lone fire, an ancient human would begin the process of deduction. They would recall the position of the sun when they first got separated. They would listen closely to the environment. Sound travels remarkably far at night. The distant low thud of a waterfall or the specific call of birds nesting near a lake could give away their location. But the ultimate strength of a lost human wasn't just what they did, it was what their tribe was doing. Prehistoric groups didn't just abandon their people. The collective investment in a single human life was immense. It took years of shared resources to raise a hunter or a gatherer. The moment someone went missing, the tribe went into action. They would climb to high ridgelines and light massive beacon fires, sending pillars of smoke into the sky during the day, or creating brilliant orange signals against the dark night sky. They would use rhythmic percussion, beating hollow logs or flat rocks to send deep, low-frequency sound waves echoing across miles of forest or savanna. When dawn broke, the lost human would look to the highest point on the horizon. They would look for the thin, straight line of smoke rising against the clouds, a literal lifeline cutting through the wilderness. They would walk toward it, tracking their own way back home, reading the earth step by step. What happened when an ancient human got lost alone? They faced the absolute limit of human vulnerability. Squeezed between cold, predators, and psychological terror, they had nothing to rely on except the map drawn inside their own mind. A pocket full of tinder fungus and the deep, unshakable trust that their tribe was out there keeping a fire burning for them. Getting lost didn't just show our ancestors how dangerous the world was. It reminded them of the single most important rule of human history. We are not built to survive alone. We survive together. And that might be the single biggest reason we are still here today. I hope the topic was interesting enough and you have subscribed to survive this video. Well, I'll try more interesting topics to talk about in the upcoming videos. Till then, keep on surviving. Peace out.